Welcome to another episode of Dengo Thoughts. This time I'm talking to Blake Bilder, the second time on the podcast. Blake is an MMA fighter, he's a dear friend, and recently became the featherweight champion of the Cage Fury Fighting Championship. It's always a lot of fun to talk to Blake because he brings a lot of interesting perspective, not just about the sport, but also about life, about the right way to live, the right way to treat people, and he's just an inspiration all around. Blake has a company that's called the Bilder System that focuses on training, health, and right nutrition. We talk about a lot of interesting subjects in this episode, but some of them are pretty heavy. And I think they're important to talk about because they touch on all of our lives. We all go through certain difficulties in life, and I think it's important to hear from somebody whose job is literally to fight for a living. As always, I want to remind you that if you like what I do, please like and subscribe. And if you really like what I do, please consider contributing on Patreon. The link is in the description. I think this conversation really speaks for itself. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Blake Bilder for the second time on a podcast.
111 222. Bro, we sound professional over here.
Yeah, man, we're sounding. This is fantastic.
Yeah, man. It took me a second to dial all this in, but
Yeah.
this is new for me as well.
Yeah,
but this sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, this is great, bro. This is beautiful. Let me.
Yeah, and
Position
I think you can loosen this up. Eventually, I'll be able to invest in thousands of dollars of just the arm. Just the best arm ever.
Yeah,
just like
right?
one arm,
Yeah, right.
Fucking does everything.
Yeah, robot arms.
Brings you coffee.
Yeah,
Does fucking everything.
Yeah. That's like I think like remember Pee-wee's Playhouse or Pee-wee's Big Adventures. He's got like he takes like one bite of the cereal and then dips out.
It gives you a fucking. There's another arm under the table just for special guests. You know?
Oh yeah. That's special services.
Yeah.
That's for after.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
So actually, you touched up on a cool subject right before. I gotta fucking get used to this because I'm just fucking doing this.
Oh yeah, I know.
I look
right?
like a fucking moron. Hold on.
I know. That's why I'm like chilling back. And, like, just like
there you go. See, I'm. There you go.
Yeah,
I'm so
right.
used to just being able to fucking float in the air and not.
Yeah.
Okay, well that sounds good enough. I think we're good.
Yeah.
How you doing, man? I'm glad we fucking get to do this.
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed and highly favored, bro. If I said anything less, man, I wouldn't be telling the truth.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
gonna adopt that shit.
Yeah. Right.
You actually touched on a really interesting subject. So we took a microdose of mushrooms,
Yes.
and I was wondering if this is like a across the board good thing. Like I don't know, maybe it messes some people up, but I feel like it's
I mean, teach their own, right? Like everybody's gonna interpret it their own way, and I think people who don't understand, like the way that the fungus works, will never understand because they're closed off to a lot of things. And look, I had my beliefs as well, but when you go through certain traumas in life and certain things that are unexpected, and you're seeking answers. I'm not saying it's the only answer, but I'm saying if you can find something that has literally zero negative side effects, it's better than getting on like Prozac or Adderall or any prescription medication that people are, that a doctor is going to give you.
I actually feel that I was thinking about that, like what's the main difference there, right? So I feel like with all those little drugs you have, each one of them kind of does a very specific thing. Like Adderall gives you this push from behind if you really
Right.
have to focus.
Yep.
But it's kind of like one direction and you can't really change it. So you're
Yeah.
on a fucking moped now and now you're fucking going, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's just throttle.
Yeah.
And I guess speed, right? So, and
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like everything is like that. It's like you have the downers, you have the uppers, you have the things that kind of makes you go sideways a little bit.
Yep.
But I feel like mushrooms, it's almost like they're not a thing that does like one thing for everybody. And obviously different substances react differently with different people all the time. But I feel like mushrooms are much more holistic in that it's almost like they listen to who you are.
100%.
And then they rearrange, kind of allow a free flow of information in your brain in a way that other things don't. So it kind of allows you to find your own optimal space. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, and then like you see there hasn't been much research that's been done on like the health benefits of it, and now I think people are waking up to the truth of like, hey, this is not hurting people, people aren't jumping off of cliffs. Like, I'm sure it's happened in one case, but you're basing like one tiny fraction. Like, look how many people get killed in accidents where people are drinking and driving. Think of how many people where alcohol's involved and they're dying from that. But how many people are doing a microdose, not even a macrodose. I'm not saying that you got to go out and macrodose, but a microdose of mushrooms. And I mean, the benefits are life-changing. I mean, I was even doing some research, and Paul Stamets was saying that the subway system in Japan was built off how the mycelium travels.
Yep.
And they built it off that. And I just saw a picture that said it showed a picture of New York and a picture of Japan. And the way to get around and the transitioning of both spaces, both the same size, way better, way faster in Japan.
I feel like this is, I don't know if you know this, but there's actually a German, and this is like I mean, I guess in Germany it's famous, but actually worldwide, there's a German architect. Actually, you know what? I might be lying. I know that he made structures in Germany, but I think it might be Brazilian or something. Anyways, there's some connection between Brazil and Germany. I don't know if he's from Brazil or from Germany, but I know a lot of the stadiums and big structures in Germany, the way he did that is that, just like you're saying about the mycelium, he took bubbles. So he filled buckets with bubbles, and then he took a bunch of strings, and then he put it in the thing, and then he pulled it out. And the way that the bubbles arranged themselves, that's how he built the structure, because that's the most sound way of doing it, because it takes the most natural form. Because, I mean, think about it. Bubbles take the form that is the most stable.
Yep.
So that's like, if you have a certain arrangement of a base that he knew that he wants to kind of build the thing. So if he have the structure this way, then he would pull the strings in, he would pull it out, and you would see how the bubbles form. And that's the dome. The dome has to be exactly at that angle.
Wow.
Because that's the most, and you know, it's like, it saved them so much computational power. You don't have to. So I feel like that's a thing we should follow more.
I think nature leaves clues.
Yeah.
You know, and if you look at the laws of nature, like, what's the most natural thing is like, you know, it's like boils down to like, well, like, if you go to the smallest geometric pattern.
The most, I don't know, like, I think like it can kind of like, we have to, I guess it's more of a wobble for me, because I feel people sometimes take it too far. Like, they say things like, you know, well, this is anything for them, anything natural is good and unnatural is not good. And I think that's a mistake too. Like, we have, there's certain things in nature. I mean, nature most of the time will kill you, right? So
nature's violent and brutal.
Yeah. So we're coming to the fucking picture and we kind of, you know, but I think that in these things, like especially structures,
yes.
I mean, think about it. Nature had billions of years to come to a conclusion about what works and what doesn't, right? So, I mean, you have billions of years of data that you can draw from. So that's something that we probably would be wise to listen to it. But there's a lot of things that we make that nature can't fucking make.
Yeah.
But do you feel like, this is interesting, because you said that sometimes you utilize it in the way that you approach your craft as well. I don't actually know if you do it during, but maybe just the way that it rearranges your brain. Do you feel that you said that it contributes a lot to the fluidity of how you feel when you spar in battle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the properties of it, I think, helps to erase ego.
Interesting.
And so I think like some people get caught up in like, what does this person think of me? So or like,
you mean the other fighter?
Just
you're talking about in general.
Surrounding environment.
Okay.
Surrounding environment, you know, like, but yeah, the other fighter, like, you know, like, some people might think like for me, it was almost like, oh, well, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful to a higher ranking like belt, you know, and by tapping them, you know, so I'll pull back.
Really? Like in training, you mean?
Oh yeah.
I know it happens with trainers.
As a sign of like, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful.
Well, I understand that with trainers, but you're saying it happens with just partners. They're just.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, it's like an interesting dichotomy. It's like especially in jiu-jitsu. Like in boxing, it's a little bit more primal, but everybody kind of like ranks themselves, and you could kind of see it, and like you'll see who wants to go up to that next level. And in striking, it's different. Like you can have like they have belt systems in striking, but everybody can have an off day. But there's not really a belt system for striking. Like karate kind of has it, but with boxing, which, it's like,
it's as raw as it gets. That and Muay Thai.
It's interesting because you can see a guy who doesn't look in shape, doesn't have the abs, doesn't have any of that, and he's a dog. And he will dog you out, and you can't tell. But in jiu-jitsu, it's like you always want to have honor. You always want to, make sure that you're respectful. And sometimes, like, for me, especially following like that, like Bushido code of like, I wouldn't want to disrespect somebody. I would want to show them honor. But then also at the same time, we're here to like grind and go. So I mean,
it's a combat sport.
Yeah. And somebody who's higher ranking than you, sometimes you're like, oh, well, like, man, it's their gym, or this person's ranked higher than me, so maybe I should, maybe I'll pull back a little bit. And what it's done for me, I just experimented with it, because like I see it as a performance enhancer.
So in that it helps you overcome this kind of weird filter that sometimes is in the way of you going all the way to where you can go.
Yeah, I think we argue for our limitations when we do it subliminally and subconsciously, and we don't know that we're doing it. I know so many people that have so much potential, it's like the worst thing ever. Like, oh, he had so much potential.
Yeah.
That's like,
everybody has potential.
And we all have potential, but what are we utilizing every crack and crevice and ounce of that? If you really look at it, most of us are failing significantly. And I'm in the business of like helping train people, like instilling like good nutrition habits with the Builder System juice.
Yeah, no, I would love to talk about that too, like more extensively.
And trying to help people understand that, like, man, if you get healthy, if you really like focus, like give yourself a month and just really harness that, how your whole life will change. How the serotonin response from your gut health being like in good health will change your mindset as well as your physiology. And like understanding that your physiology changes your psychology.
I can tell you from personal experience that when I was younger, I was kind of muscling through all that stuff because I wasn't even paying attention.
Right.
But when I got older, I started noticing like when certain foods would upset my stomach or would create like a lot of inflammation, and how I would be as a person. Like it's very obvious.
Different.
It's very obvious. Yeah. So I can imagine like, people with chronic conditions are like, chronic pain. A lot of times it's just in the background and you don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah.
But there's a portion of you that still notices it.
Right.
And that's the portion of you that is unhappy. That is the portion of you that is battling the world. And it, even if you're not aware of it, for sure it sips to the surface. It comes to the surface and it expresses itself in how you talk to people, how you approach work, how you get up in the morning. And really 100%. Just cascades from there. Like it's literally endless. Yeah. So I'm 100% with you on that. And so actually tell us a little bit about that, because it's I would love for you to plug the Builder System, because it's such a positive thing. Yeah.
So the Builder System, basically, like I was looking at training. I was looking at just like nutrition habits and for me, it's always just trimming the fat. So like when I came up with the name for my company, the Builder System, basically I'm the builder, and like my last name is Bilder, so it's not like, but I'm also the builder. Like I like my whole life, I've broken away from my what my family does, and like I come from a family of people who are obese, and they suffered through that, and they conceded to their innermost selves that that's just the way it is. This is just who I am. This is my life. And I saw the way that people treated them, and I saw the way that they felt about themselves, and I said I would never let that happen.
What do you think was that in you that realized that?
It's just understanding at a young age, like the energetic exchange between like somebody looking different.
So you knew that has something to do with their mindset?
100%.
That's not that obvious. At what age do you feel like you recognize that?
5.
That's pretty unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in kindercare, and I just saw and I would just run like A/B tests. That's why I really liked science when I was in school. There's nothing that really piqued my interest, but I remember my 6th grade teacher would have us go and do tests where we would have to for one instance, I was weighing how much garbage bags could withhold a certain amount of weight. And then we would come up with our hypothesis, we would test it, and what was the result? And I found I really liked that system because all I'm doing is A/B testing. Like I'm going to do this for a day. Boom. These results. I'm going to do this for a day. These results. Interesting. And so what I would do is I'd run social experiments. My whole life I've been doing that. And then for me, what I noticed is in sitcoms, I was a big fan of sitcoms, and I realized every main character has a slogan, has a saying, has something that makes them unique and different. And once they would put that out, you would start seeing a lot of other people using it and picking up on those same mannerisms. And so I was able to recognize the greatness about each individual, and then put that upon everybody that I meet, and find that one thing that makes them unique, and then express how that makes them special and unique to me. And when I was younger, I would see my older brother get knocked off of his bike and get called fat, and I just saw how devastated that was for him. And then later on, I'm looking around and seeking answers, and I started studying psychology at a young age, and dreams and just why things happen the way that they are, and I started understanding that you could have the best insides, but the way you show up on the outside is a big deal.
But do you feel that, okay, so right now this is a very well formulated thought that
Right.
you obviously already have, this is after years and years now, you're an adult.
Right.
Do you feel that those sentiments were there that early on? You just didn't know how to express them. You're just kind of going through the motion. So the A/B testing you were doing from very young. So that, I always have this, and I always have this thing where I feel like, there's this big debate between, do people actually all have a certain talent or not? So I don't know, I haven't done deep studies of this, but something tells me that sometimes it's just that the way that people think about the word talent is the wrong way. It's not that the talent has to be expressed in a way of he has a talent for chess or he has a talent for this. No,
Right.
I feel like the predispensations are around that. They're something in you was naturally seeking the differences between two things, and it was obvious to you that one of them works and one of them doesn't, so why keep the one that doesn't? But what maybe wasn't that obvious to you is that keeping the attention on it,
Right.
and to make sure that you remember how it actually was, right, is not something that most people think about, because it's hey, I feel this way now. Or, people in their 50s that still don't think of their health in that way. They just think 100%. That, well, that's just how it is. And like you're saying, your family, I feel like most people are like that. They're just hey, that's how it is.
Yeah. And they're literally the best people in the world, the biggest hearts, but they got trampled on their whole life.
Oh, you mean life. Your family? Yeah.
Yeah. They got walked all over, and And for me, you know, it's like, it's no wonder that I am a professional fighter. You know, like my earliest childhood, like heroes were like Macho Man Randy Savage, you know, like Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner, you know, like Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan. And I remember my one of my earliest childhood memories, I was at kindergarten, and I'm walking, we're all gonna go get toys, right? Like from the store down the street. And I remember I had my like Macho Man, like Randy Savage action figure, and I'm like looking at it, and I flexed my arm. I went like this, and like just nothing. And I was like, man, I was like, I'm so weak. I was like, when I grow up, I'm gonna be the biggest, baddest motherfucker anybody's ever met. And people are gonna feel my presence when I walk in a room.
That's amazing. Well, you definitely lived up to your goal.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like, and then like 0 to 7, you know, like after studying psychology, it's like you realize that's when the subconscious mind is programmed. And like once, and like when it's programmed, like the reprogramming process is really tough.
Very hard. Very hard.
Really,
it takes
really
way
tough.
longer. Yeah.
I mean, and you know, it's like 0 to 7, like kids are learning 5, 6, 7 different languages. You know, they're playing instruments.
Oh yeah.
Whoa, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
rewiring, it's a motherfucker.
Yeah, the neuroplasticity is there, you know, and
that's why, by the way, it's a full circle, because psychedelics actually help with that.
And that's why
they help opening it up to like the possibilities that existed for you as a kid.
And that's why I condone it, you know, and it's like, and if you don't, good for you. If that's just not your cup of tea, good for you. But if you do suffer from depression, if you do suffer from anxiety, if you do have past traumas, like look at I would say give it a try.
Oh no, by the way, just so you know, I didn't want to interrupt what you were saying before, but the studies are actually pretty conclusive. It's just that they're not that advertised, but I think Johns Hopkins did very extensive studies, and I believe that, for example, with heart addictions like smoking, alcohol,
100%.
the cessation level is insane. It's like
also with depression too.
With depression as well, but basically, and dealing with anything has to do with your own death or somebody, like a close person's death.
Yeah.
So like in hospice they used it, but the cessation with smoking is up to 80% cessation.
That's correct.
Even with 1 or 2 sessions, which is insane. Like it's unheard of. Like complete cessation.
Some people just do one. Yeah. Some people just do one. I was just listening to that last night, and you know, it's close to home for me, because it's just like you said. You know, if you lose somebody that you love dearly, I mean, you know, it's the questions that you want answered, but you can't, the time that you can't turn back, that's why I sought that out, is because my a few weeks ago my little brother took his own life.
Oh damn! Like your actual brother?
My little actual brother.
Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's crazy. What?
I mean, it's, you know, it's tough, man. Like I wish I had the information that I knew now. I wish I could have like maybe offered this solution to him. I think I don't think I know things would be different. And it's super interesting because, you know, I suffered like tormented by depression, by suicidal thoughts, like almost every single day. And I'm really one of the happiest people that I know. Like I really am, you know.
No, but, you are. But, in that regard, I have to say you're really an exemplar of that. Like a very positive vibe, and it's not fake.
Thank you. You know, and I really truly am happy. But there's some days where it's just like, man, I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is. Like I live in Southern California. Like I live in a really nice house. Like I have great business, great friends, great family, everything to look forward to. And I just want to smash my car against the median, You know, I just
Interesting.
want to, I just don't, like, I have certain lapses of moments and feelings where I'm just like, man, I can't do it. And it's so interesting because after my little brother, after Braden took his own life, you know, we did a viewing at the funeral home, and like, I'm just looking at him. He's deceased. His spirit's gone. He's cold to the touch. And I was like, man. And then my mom and my brother are talking, and they're just like, you know, he was this for this person. He was this to that person. He was who this person wanted to be. He would be this person for you. She's like, we all had a different version. And I was like, man, that kind of sounds like me. And I started thinking, and I was like, man, and just like a lot of things were like very similar. And I was like, man, me and him talked a lot about depression, a lot about like suicidal thoughts. And I was just like, man, like, you know, you just gotta put one foot in front of the other. You know, I tried it too when I was younger. Like a month before he did, he calls me and he's like, and he FaceTimes me, and I'm on my way to a meeting, and he's like, I fucked up. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I fucked up. I was like, well, how? I was like, and he's like, I ate some sleeping pills. I was like, how much is some? He's like, the whole bottle. And like, my heart just sank, bro. I'm like, fuck, man. Like,
And was he, sorry, I'm interrupting the thing, but how old was he, first of all?
20.
And was he living alone, or?
Yeah. So he got wrongfully convicted of rape. And he was sentenced to 6 months in jail. He was looking at a few felonies. They're going to get him on like breaking and entering, trespassing charges, obviously like sexual assault and aggravated battery. And 6 months later, the girl decides, oh no, hey, like, I'm over it. I don't I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm done. So she gives up her case after 6 months of him being in jail. Tried to kill himself in jail. He started seeking out books. I sent him a book he never read.
Wow.
And
sometimes it's hard to motivate yourself.
Yeah, you know, but I sent it to him hoping that it would help, and because it helped me when at his age, at 20. You know, I read the book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, and it was totally transforming, you know, and 6 months later he gets out, but man, you know, like, all your friends are against you. Like, everybody thinks you're a rapist.
So, first of all, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's, this is like your blood brother, right? This is like your brother.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, you know, it's like, it sucks because he is like half black. You know, we have different dads, but it's like, you know, it's like people aren't trying to be rude. And like, I'm like, I get it. You know, I'm like, but it's like right after it happened, it's just like, oh man, come on. Like, God, like, I'd be like, hey, I'm like, you know, like, I'm trying to raise money for my little brother's funeral and whatnot. And like, oh, that, you know, that's cool. He was like a little brother to you. I'm like, no, that's my little brother. And like, oh yeah, you know, like, I have a friend that's like a little brother to me. I'm like, it's not my friend. I was like, it's not my friend. It's my little brother. They're like, but he's black. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, he's adopted. I'm like, no, he's not adopted.
But also, why does it matter? Like, yeah, well, I guess it's because they just see that. Yeah. And that shows you how people view the differences. I mean, me and my sister, we have different dads.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But
we have different dads.
We're brothers.
But yeah,
No, it's, I think even genetically, same mother is considered to be not half brothers. It's considered to be like full brothers.
Yeah,
I think.
That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel.
But it's okay. So this is, you know, I'm sure that this is very painful for you, but I think it is important to talk about this a little bit because I think it might actually help a lot of people kind of put things in perspective.
It's very important.
So when he called you, he was already out of jail, basically. He served his time, or
he had served his time, and he was like trying to get his life together. But my mom is a foster parent, so she has foster kids there. So he got tried for sexual assault. So he can't be around kids. It's off his record. She said no. Well, guess what? The arrest records still say sexual assault.
Yeah. And it's a mark for the rest of your life. That is a heavy one.
And so it like he couldn't be at my mom's house. And then he tried like finding a place, and then it's like, I don't know, it's like you're trying to do your best. He's got a kid. He's got one on the way too. And it's just like, man, I know how it is to feel overwhelmed, and I know what it is to have that scarcity mindset, because you're like, man, we grew up rough. It was tough, man. And my mom was doing her best. She's a saint. She's just doing her best, man. And like I would try and help them understand that, like, like, hey, mom, she went through hell and back, and like her subconscious programming, like she was told that she was never going to be loved, and that she's so fat she's going to explode. And like just like watching her go through like eating disorder and body dysmorphia, and like just always having low self-esteem, and how low self-esteem plagues the world. It turns you into a consumer, it turns you into a victim, it turns you against yourself, and then you hate yourself because you don't ever feel good enough, no matter how good you're doing. Whether you're an achiever, you get the achievement, still not good enough.
It is a weird thing that no matter what. So like, because this came a little bit after a great victory for you. You got what's the name of the organization again?
Cage Fury Fighting
Cage
Champions.
Fury. You're the champion,
Yep,
right?
CFFC champ 145.
145.
Yep.
Which is incredible, by the way.
Thank
Actually,
you.
I should have told you to bring the belt and be like,
Oh, I got it in the car too.
Oh, okay, we can bring it later.
Yeah,
It's fine. We can bring it and like pretend like you're
there we go.
But actually, for the thumbnail, it'll probably be great.
Oh, 100%.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it came right after that, and it really kind of shows you how what a chasm of difference can be in people's life experience. Like how dark a place can be versus how bright a place can be, all at the same time, and even in one person's life, like literally from in a matter of a week or a matter of a few days, everything can shift immediately.
Yeah.
And that thing that you're talking about, that thing that no matter how good you have it, no matter how hard you work, because there's a certain element, like, obviously the people who don't really try and kind of succumb to this pain, then with them you kind of understand, well, okay, it's not that you're judging them, but you understand why they're in pain, because they just give up from the get-go.
Yeah.
But in your case, it's the absolute opposite. You fight as hard as you possibly can, figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
And even for you, there's a certain element that you just can't eradicate. It's like this dark corner that always.
But that's where things get interesting.
In what way?
Because the fact that I can and I have eradicated it thus far, will it come back? I don't know. But I know that since I've started microdosing, because like I went through that trauma, and I tried a microdose, and I was like, wow. I'm like, man, I was able to see things in a different light. I was able to, perceive things and still go about my day. It's not like I'm like tripping off in like the middle of Joshua Tree. I'm doing a microdose and like going and doing jiu-jitsu, like going and boxing and going and striking and training clients, and like being like hopping on Instagram lives and like being helpful. Like,
but you were always doing that.
Yeah, but the degree and the level of how it's being done now is different.
You mean your attitude towards it as you're
100%.
Okay.
100%.
So do you feel? Would you say that you're more connected to the tasks?
Yes.
You remember more.
Yes.
What's the actual significance of those things?
So present, and just tuned in. I feel so present and so tuned in, and it might be a little bit of both, right? Like recognizing mortality, through like a death in my family, and then also like understanding that like you never know, man. You just never know.
No, definitely, you never know.
Like I said, I'm one of the happiest people that I know, and I was like struggling bad.
But you mean now, or was it before too? Like he would show his face.
It's been going on since childhood, bro.
Because I'll be honest with you,
yeah,
I don't feel like you ever eradicate it. I feel that that's a natural. It's actually a component of what it's like to be of matter. Like I feel like
for sure
the darkness is kind of like there, right?
Yeah.
It has a function.
Yeah,
and
and like I said, yeah, I don't know if it's gone forever. It might come back
or transform into something else. But I feel like it's there to help us grow. Like it's the thing against which we are pressing to get up. Like that's otherwise you don't have, if everything is just always fucking amazing, then there's no need to grow. There's no need to try and climb up. There's no reason to evolve.
Yeah,
I think so. That's and I know those sound a little bit too like kind of like airy fairy, but it's true. Like if you don't have to get up, like for the most part, if you're driven by pain for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like purpose over pleasure, right? Like definitely like falling into like pleasure-seeking habits that aren't constructive and conducive towards like what you're going after. Like as a professional athlete, like depression doesn't serve me.
No, depression. And I actually wanted to ask you about that because it seems to me like so let me sidestep for 1 second and I'll tell you what I mean by that. So first of all, there's a certain drive that is innate or kind of developed over time a little bit, right? And you seem to kind of have both. Like it was natural, but you also evolved it.
Natural and constructed.
And sure. And you kind of added to it, obviously. But because it ties to a question I wanted to ask specifically about mushrooms, because we were talking about that fighter that I still can't remember his name, and it's really
Dan Hardy.
Thank you. Yeah, it was like Daniel something. Dan Hardy.
It just came to me.
Perfect. See, mushrooms.
Right? See,
mushrooms reminded you.
That's what I'm honestly, I'm such a proponent. I'm such a proponent.
Okay. No, but hold on. But I wanted to ask you about that specifically.
Yeah.
That even Dan Hardy, I remember it was an interview in which he was talking about that, in which he said that for a while he wasn't sure that he will be able to fight because it made him too compassionate. Do you feel, you know what I mean? Like it opens this dimension of like, why am I expressing violence? Now, later he went back and he did fight more, but do you feel like it can bring you to this place of like the thing, because it's constructive. Okay. So it's structured aggression, right? Because it's in a certain
I always say structured violence,
right? But that's the difference, right? I think we touched on it a little bit last time we spoke, but you never feel aggression when you're fighting in a cage. Like you completely, like what needs to be done, or you just don't bother yourself with those kind of thoughts.
I'm emotionless.
Really?
Yeah, I'm emotionless. I have to be. And sometimes, I get it. I get that. I get why he would stop, because this game will turn you into. It will turn you into an animal.
You mean the game in like the shit talk around it, or
just in general? Just in general, yeah. And if you got a shit talk, but then also at the same time, what are you willing to do in order to obtain your dream? Are you Colby Covington? He was going to get cut from the UFC. Dana wouldn't touch on that question, but he was going to get cut. And so he goes, okay, all right. If I'm going to get cut, what do I have to do? I have to do more.
Reinvent myself. Yeah.
I have to reinvent myself. Or maybe not even like reinvent. Maybe just like speak his mind. Maybe
you think that's more of the real him?
That's more of the real him.
Really?
100%. He would look, everybody, all martial arts is an expression. And he's just taking that expression and he's 10xing it.
So you're saying he created a caricature? He Donald Trumped his own character kind of
Yeah,
thing.
he's just like constructing a video game character
Interesting.
that he thinks would get more viewers and more butts and seats.
Yeah.
And then from that, and then once you start talking your talk and you back it up, things change.
Look at McGregor.
Things
that's-
changed, and that's why he was doing
Yeah.
it. And then people are looking at him, and people are taking fights against him, but they're scared to death. And
because he has actual skill. But
and that's the thing. It's like,
I don't think the persona is scary,
you're,
but
you're gonna get into a fight anyway. You're gonna get into a fight. It's a fight. It's gonna happen. But most people don't talk, and they stay quiet, and they stay shy, because if they lose, they feel like they're gonna be embarrassed. You're gonna get embarrassed anyways. So like the guys that can take their ego out of it and just put their ego to the side and do the task, build it up, hype it up. They might even be friends with the guy behind closed doors.
No, it sells it for sure.
And they're like, yo, when we go out there, like,
no, there's no question.
Let's
Listen,
get after it. Let's
Jake
get nasty.
Paul, McGregor,
100%.
like all of those, instances of personality penetrating beyond anything that the sport ever envisioned because of what they put out there outside of the octagon.
Exactly.
That's the thing that really sells the fight.
That's the thing.
That's the game, really.
And that's why they're in entertainment industry.
So do you feel, because your thing actually works really well for you, right?
Right.
But you don't know what form it will take, because it seems like you're very likable, like as a person, but also as a fighter. You're really good about like being very cordial. Like after you won, I remember you said, "Hey, I know I'm not your guy, but a lot of respect to all of you. Thank you for having me."
Yeah.
Do you feel that will keep working when you'll get to the UFC?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? It's like authenticity trumps.
Yes, 100%.
Because you're being your honest self, and like I'm quirky and weird, and I got a bunch of one-liners, and I think it's all A/B testing in my whole life. Like I've seen the jerk that was like an asshole to me when I walked in the boxing gym. They were calling me a fag and like making fun of me and told me to get out of the boxing gym. And and it's like, man, anybody like now you walk into most boxing gyms and, hey, nice to meet you, shake your hand, come over here, let's be your friend. It wasn't like that, man. Like, they didn't want me there.
Interesting.
Yeah, they did not want me there.
Because they felt like you're too much of a sweetheart or something?
Yeah. And, people pick up on your niceness, and people will take advantage of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because they think they're the thugs. They feel like they're hard people.
Yeah, take the kindness for weakness. But really, like, their weakness is
they're afraid.
Their ability to, like, just shell up and put a mask on.
Yeah.
And so... And then when you can be a good guy, you can be a good person, and then also have like I learned how to have like self-esteem and self-respect, and I learned how to like have that confidence, and I found it through boxing. I found it through that. And, before it was like, I'm going to do this, like, and I'm going to leave a legacy like this because I saw what more intrigued me when I walked into the gym was it was like all those sitcom characters that I saw. All of them had it.
What do you mean?
All of them had that thing.
The one-liner, the brand.
They just had the it factor.
Right.
All of them had it. Like I remember this dude Otis, man, smooth ass light skinned brother on the east side of St. Paul. And then there's Johnny Johnson. He's a loudmouth, house outcast. And he's like, Otis, why the fuck are you always smiling? And he looks at him and I'll never forget it, man. And he trained Tony Too Sharp Lee. And he was always cool and suave. He's like, hey man, I'm just one of those happy-go-lucky motherfuckers. And I was like, God damn, I want to be that cool one day,
That's fucking cool.
So I'm just one of those happy-go-lucky motherfuckers. And he's like, and he just shook his head at him, and like they both went their different ways, but it was a sign of respect, It was just like, And he just smiled at
Hey,
Johnny.
to each his own.
Yeah, and he's just
you don't want to be happy, don't be happy, but don't fucking give me shit for being happy. Yeah,
and but you know, when Johnny looked at him, he just like he looked at him like this, but it's all love.
no, of
You know,
course,
it's like it's no animosity, but it's all love, and they were playful and like.
But don't forget, it's also around the respect for the ability that he probably knew he had.
Yeah,
right.
of course.
It's obviously
Trainer to trainer, you know, it's all love and respect, and like you know, out in the hood, it's like everybody that was there is like keeping the lights on. You know, like we're all family. We might hate each other, you know, like we might not get along with each other that much, but there's always a mutual respect, and like everybody in that gym had just. Man, they were larger than life. They were bigger than anybody I had met, and I was like, man, this is it. I had that I have arrived moment.
Mm.
It was like watching. It was like you know what it was like. It was like in Rocky 3 after he lost to Clubber Lang, and then Apollo Creed brought him to the hood in LA.
Oh, and they were doing the
and
It ends
he's
with
like,
them punching in the beginning.
well, he brings them. Well, he brings them into that's big. That's the end of Rocky 3. But he brings them into the gym, and he goes. You see the look in their eyes, Rock, and then it zooms in. Boom, 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 boom. It's cold. It was one of the coldest scenes in a movie scene ever. He goes, you see the look in their eyes, Rock? We got to get that back in you. And it's like the eyes are the windows to the soul. The eyes never lie, Chico. You know, it's like, man, you could tell a lot by a person by their glare, by their stare. You know, and that's what like really hit me. I was like, man, there's a different feel to this. Like there's more than what meets the eye. And when I walked in that gym, man, the same thing happened to me, and I didn't have it at the time. But I wanted it, and I sought that out.
Do you use that in fights, by the way?
100%.
The eye thing?
Every time.
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you think it's possible to hide when fighters get good at that? It's hard, huh?
It's tough, man.
You got to either feel it or you don't?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I'll tell you what, man. One of the toughest fights I ever had was against a two-time national champion. I had just turned open in boxing. I won the Ringside Worlds in 2016. He had just won the Sugarburt Nationals at light heavyweight. I won at middleweight. So middleweight's 165. And you can be as high as 165 in middleweight. Light heavyweight, you can be up to 178. And so I just won that. He had just won that. And we met up in Minneapolis where the main event, last fight. And Pool both, his African cat with like leopard gladiator trunks. Man, the fool was good. I found out 4 years ago, he hit me up on Facebook. And he goes, out of nowhere, and I'm so glad he did this because I had no idea. But I knew he was one of the toughest fights I ever had to this day. He hit hard as can be. He was fast. He was sharp. He was slick. He had good defense. You know, had a good jab. You know, and he followed up like with a good right cross behind it. You know, tricky timing. He was a tough.
He was the full package.
He was a full package, and I went up a weight class. You know, and so.
You went up a weight class to fight him.
And so I went up to his weight class after we both came off 2 really big wins. And we were the top ranked guys in Minnesota. And so I go up against him. It's like his 360 plus fight. I think I was his like 364th fight or something like that.
What? Wait. Number 365?
Yeah. So like boxers.
What are you talking about?
Boxers have like tons of amateur fights sometimes.
Oh, okay, so that includes all his. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So like I was like,
I'm like
I was almost his 400th fight.
That's insane.
And
imagine
he said,
the experience on that shit.
That's what I'm saying.
That's fucking crazy.
And I went up a weight class to fight that. And so he hits me up 4 years ago, and he messages me. He goes, out of like 364 fights or 65 or 360 plus fights, he goes, "You are my toughest fight to this date." I said, hold up. You had 360 plus fights by the time you got to me? I said, yeah. I was like, well, damn.
Yeah, you can sleep
I was
well
like,
in
I
bed.
was like, man, I walked a little bit taller that day, knowing, yeah, but he was tough, man. I almost knocked him out at the end of the first round. He was beating my ass the whole first round, I thought. And like I had myself down. Like I know where I'm at in a fight. I know, like I'm like not biased with myself. Like I'm very, very honest with myself. And I'm like, man, this dude's fucking me up. And then I sat him back, had him move him straight backwards with a double jab, stepped off to the right, boom, overhand right. He didn't see it coming. Said he woke up coming off the ropes. And they gave him in boxing, they give you a standing 8 count. So they give him standing 8 count. I go back to my corner. I run back in, ding, 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 another round. Okay, go to my corner. It's like, whoo, what did you think about that? Woo. Cericio for it. We call him Woo Woo. And he's like, hey, good job, champ. He's like, stay in there. He's like, you're doing good. He's like, but stay busy, move that head, hit the body, slow that boy down, hit to the body, boom, go up top, bop, 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 boom, keep that jab sticking, move to the inside. This dude's big. It's like, hell yeah, bro. I was like, this dude, he looks like a Mack truck. I was like, but I got him hurt. I'm gonna try and take him out like right away. Bro, I came out in that second round, and that fool, he was hitting even harder. He wasn't even hurt. He was able to rest and recover with that 1 minute in between the rounds. And man, that dude put me through 6 more minutes of hell. Like, but I was giving him the business, man. I mean, we had a war. And I'll never forget that fight. It was one of my favorite fights, man.
Is he still boxing?
No, I don't think so.
How old is he now, you think?
Maybe late 20s.
Oh, so he just kind of retired early, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he a lot of people, they stay amateur too long.
Because also boxers go to, like MMA fighters, they finish their careers usually around closer to the end of their 30s, or I mean, there's always outliers, but
in boxing, guys turn pro at like 18, 19.
Okay, so they go
early, young adults. And then, they have a game plan and try and build up their career over time. And hopefully, you can retire like mid-20s, like late 20s, and then in your 30s, hopefully you've built a scalable business and you can rest up and recover. And hopefully you aren't too much of damaged goods by the end. This game will, chew you up and spit you out if you let it.
Well, I feel like all fighting sports, right? Like,
yeah.
I think, again, all the like the full contact, full on, like again, Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, obviously, MMA, the most obvious. Do you feel like there's you did boxing and you did MMA. Do you feel that people get more brain damage in MMA or boxing, or it's pretty much 50-50?
That's interesting. I'll tell you what,
because you only get swung at, right, in boxing, so it's kind of like statistically, it seems like that will be more of a.
I'll tell you what, like as far as boxing goes, I've seen more people like talk slurred, and have like more signs of like CTE and you'll see guys that like, man, they're like well spoken, like super articulate, and then like, man, like some guys are like, yeah, I'm just gonna make it.
Oh shit!
I'm gonna
like they're after a stroke or something.
Literally.
Yeah.
And like they're and they kind of have like this whiny, higher octave tone. Okay, we're going in there. We're gonna go in.
But I feel like Mike Tyson always had it.
No, that's different. No, that's different.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's different. It's different. You'll know it if you hear it.
No. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I just feel with Mike Tyson. Yeah, I'm always here. I'm gonna wrap my fifth.
Do you feel like he suffered brain damage, or do you feel like he pretty much got away with the minimum
Man, I think brain damage I think a lot of it is psychosomatic too.
Yeah, but sometimes you can have like lesions on your brain. You can literally have like physical.
Yeah,
I feel like he kind of got away.
But also, 100%, especially with heavyweight boxing. But also, like, it's interesting, right? Like the have you ever read Psycho Cybernetics?
No.
It's like this doctor, he's like a plastic surgeon. Like some people would like get a nose surgery, and like, man, they're come alive. You know, like their whole like attitude and outlook would change, and some people would get the same surgery and the exact opposite. Oh, nothing changed. It's like, no, it clearly changed. It's like, no, I don't see the difference. You know, you need to do the nose shot, and that's
the obsession begins.
Yeah, that's in it's in here. And then like he was talking about like people had like sciatica issues or like back problems. Like most people like in life have like herniated discs and like bulge discs and stuff, you know, just like from life. But what he was saying is like in the book, and like even in general, and people have like shown this is like you can have like some people like have like no signs of it, no signs of like no signs of like mentally showing like any pain or anything, because it's almost like psychosomatic. It's like
actually I have so we just replaced the batteries. I actually don't remember what was the last thing we said, but that's okay.
I don't remember either.
I'm gonna
but that's all good. That's how it'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah. What else did I want to ask you? Oh, I was wondering like how much of you know, like the personal aggression thing. You said that you're always like professional about it.
Yeah. You know, for me, it's like, dude, this is a sport. Like, I don't hate you. Like,
no, sure, I'm sure
that's like with and like also like, dude, I recognize that like without this guy, I'm not me.
So
I need. It's like thank you, because without you, I can't be me. I need that person just as much as they need me.
But okay. But no, I get that. Oh, okay. No. But I guess okay. No. I get that part.
Yeah.
What I guess what I'm asking is it never shows up in your life at all? Like you don't feel aggression of any kind? Like you don't get angry, or just because you kind of
not really. I'm pretty.
So you leave without demons? Like there's no.
I wouldn't say that. So it's well, sometimes sometimes people are fucking rude.
I see.
You know, sometimes people, it's like, dude, like what is like, what's your deal? You know, like what, why you gotta be like that? Like one guy, I beat him, like, bro, like broke his leg.
You did?
He left on a wheelchair. Yeah. And he was like going on like Instagram, and he was just like, oh yeah, Blake's a teddy bear. He was just hugging me the whole time, you know? And,
well, that's not rude. That's just delusional.
Yeah, well, yeah, delusional, and then, like he leaves in a wheelchair and has to go to the hospital afterwards. I'm like, all right, you know, like whatever, you know, but it's just, you know, people always have something to say. You know, if somebody loses, like if I lose, like, hey man, my hat's off to you.
Yeah,
good job.
No, because you know you gave it all.
Yeah, and I always give it my all. You know, and like I always give it to my all to the extent of what I know at that time. You know. And I think a lot of people think that they know, but they don't. And like we're all like I'm working on the art of humility, you know, which is to consistently and constantly be teachable, trainable, and coachable. You know, and like that's like for me that's it right there. Like if I can just remain in that state of mind where I'm just, man, fill up my cup.
Exactly, but do you feel that some people did just naturally?
No, I mean like fill up my cup. No, give me some more water, sir.
Well, it's a lot of water, man. No, you see the half empty right there. I think. No, but like you don't feel like some people like. Okay, so again, I think McGregor is a great example. Like I feel like he's just naturally rambunctious like that. He just like,
oh man, and it's
isn't that okay? Isn't that
he's the master at A/B testing.
Yeah.
He's the master at it.
But behind the A/B testing, there's the attitude that he wants to portray. That's if he would have the choice, he would choose that every time, right?
Yeah, because I mean, what's the other option? And that's the way he thinks. It's like the A/B testing. It goes back to that. It's like, all right, well, I've been like, I've been sincere, I've been kind, I've been sweet.
Was he ever?
But 100%.
Wait, so I don't know enough about McGregor. When he was like,
earlier
in his career, it wasn't like this.
Well, Well,
I really don't know. I'm asking.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know about early on in his career. I don't think so. He's always been a shit talker, really revved up, and then he went away for a little bit, and his rematch against Dustin Poirier, number 2, he had a completely different approach. It was, hey man,
I remember that.
I'll donate to your charity, like da 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 da.
But that was weird. That was actually outside of his character.
Well,
to what he portrayed, right? That's kind of like very different than what he.
Well, yeah, and he took a different approach to it.
Do you think he got older?
I think he had a kid, and I think your mindset and your heart changes.
So, do you think that most of us kind of come to that conclusion at the end? We calm down a little.
Yeah, man, I think we all do. Like I know.
Tell that to Putin. It's 75.
I would like to. Yeah, I mean, hey, some of us just got that complex. Like, it's like, hey, like I don't know, he got some Napoleon Hill complex, or I don't know what's going on.
I don't even know if it's short. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just like, but not even like the short man complex, just the complex. He's just got that. Like, I want to.
Listen, I feel like he has a terminal disease. I'm sure I'm not the first one to consider that, because like
probably
it's just literally running into a wall. I don't even know. Like it feels like he doesn't care. Like he's just fucking gonna go all in.
Oh yeah,
and that's very dangerous, obviously for everybody. But
I think once you've crossed that threshold of like, all right, we're invading and we're going down this rabbit hole, and like my roommate, I don't know, I haven't been like listening to anything about the war, just because like I'm about to head into a war of my own, and I'm not really into like the news. So like it's just heartbreaking, dude. It's just like so hard. Like I can control my little piece of the world, so it's tough. But it's just like I feel for Ukraine and I feel for Russia too. But I guess there's like a really big there's a very large amount of people who have died.
Yeah,
and it's so sad.
I'll be honest with you. I and it might be just my overly romanticizing brain, and maybe romanticizing sounds like a weird concept to use in this context, but I mean romanticizing in the most poetic way,
right?
In that I always see everything in kind of like this grandiose way. I can't help but always think that everything that we are as a person translates to how we are as a collective. And I feel like it really feels to me like this is a moment in history where the way we treat that intrusion of, like a very big intrusion of into the peaceful components of the world, into the peaceful operation of the world, the way we're going to treat this situation as a world feels to me like it's going to largely determine how this next century is going to look like. Like if we let this slide, it's just like you standing up to a bully. Like if we let this slide, we're going to have another 100 years of this kind of nonsense all over. Like people running around because they know they can kind of get away with it.
Right.
Or we put an end to this. But then the thing that makes it different than individuals is like, okay, but what if it means nuclear war? Then do we go there? You know what I mean? It's like holy shit.
Sometimes that confrontation with the bully is nuclear war.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, you need to just stand up to that bully. It's like easier said than done.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, of course you want like the hero's journey and the hero story. It's like, well,
in retrospect, you want
it's like, oh, well, yeah, I got sick of that bully chasing me down. I turned around and he knocked me out cold. It's like, no, you don't want to hear that, but that's probably what happens most of the time.
Yeah.
But
not all bullies run away, first of all.
Yeah.
when you hit him back.
Yeah.
And in his case, it just sounds like he operates out of a place as like he has nothing to lose, and he has a lot to lose, which makes you wonder, like, what is his state of mind? Because he doesn't look insane, and he's not stupid for sure. So what is it that he knows that we don't? Either that it's terminal disease, or he just kind of like, honestly, you really believe that shit about the whole idea he had about Ukraine actually wanting him to save them from the West, some weird fucking shit.
Whoa,
like,
I don't know anything about
oh
that.
yeah, he basically that was the premise for the war, that's what he told the people, which is, this is the part that I'm having a hard time understanding if he actually believes it or not.
Yeah.
Which is that the propaganda was, we are one people at our core, and the West is trying to infringe, because the UN was trying to kind of flirt with Ukraine to join. Sorry, not UN, NATO. And at that point, he was like, well, he showed up in a big meeting for NATO, and he said, here's my demands, which of course he knew will never be met, which is like, you got to remove all your presence from Ukraine. He's not in a position to say that, but he was like, that's the only way I'm not going to invade. I was like, so they knew. Yeah. So it's like he gave him an ultimatum that he knew they're going to, there was one option there.
Yeah.
There was no.
Yeah.
So essentially, that's what he says that he believes, which is that he's saving the Ukrainians from the West trying to infringe into the way that things are done in this part of the world, which is fucking
and I mean,
crazy.
it's like the mindset of a megalomaniac.
Yeah, yeah. And I always wonder, like, what is so, and that, when you meet, and I guess again, I'm always trying to kind of translate between the personal experience that we have with individuals. I'm sure you probably met people like in the world that you're in that are like that, which is they're completely deranged by what they believe they can do, and sometimes they can even do a lot of it.
Yeah,
but
then and like having like a proper perspective, and balancing that, because like, look, it can get out of control. Like, look at Conor McGregor. He's a prime example of that, and it's just like, where you're just voicing it and it's happening, and you're voicing it and it's happening. And like you
mean like he's manifesting it kind of thing?
Oh yeah. Like your thoughts, the process of manifestation, like that book that I told you I read.
Yeah.
He talked about the process of manifestation, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. He said, thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, and actions lead to results. And that the thing that comes before that is programming.
You mean the thing that we kind of carry with us?
Yeah. So the programming controls the thoughts, which controls the feelings, which controls the actions, which controls the results.
So if your programming is of a maniac that just believes that whatever they say happens, it's very hard to kind of steer you away from that.
Yeah, and everybody suffers from low basically, people that are willing to like dive in to something head first, typically are like people who feel like they don't belong and are looking for a group to join. And, it's like this whole thing. I heard Kanye West say it, and I was like, man, I heard him say it a few days ago. I go, that is,
say what specifically?
So that people are falling into traps of false information, of designer products, of not feeling good enough because they're resonating with low self-esteem. They don't feel good about themselves. So they feel like they have to buy this and wear that. And we all do it. Like, hey, I like nicer things too, but I detach myself, or at least try to, from like what I wear is who I am, or what I do is who I am. And like, it's like this, like I was suffering from depression. Like I was tormented with it. Like, I mean, I thought about killing myself maybe like every other day.
Is that for real? Because you said that a couple times. So you actually thought about that?
Yeah, a lot, like often.
Interesting.
Yeah, probably almost every day, almost every other day.
You mean still?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
Not since when Braden took his own life.
Oh, so even up until recently.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, none of that shows. That's very interesting.
Yeah. You would.
So-
I mean, you would never know.
No, I would never know. But that's my question to you. Can I ask you something very real?
For sure.
So, do you feel that that's something you're hiding from yourself? Because if it's
what do you mean?
So because if it's there, right? If it's there on an operative level when you're alone, then is the persona you're showing us is something that you're doing to protect us from that, but really inside you battling it. So in a way you
No.
okay, but in a way you kind of lying to yourself, not in the sense that you're not genuine, but is that you're not truly like
Yeah.
like you don't feel like expressing some of that to the world will do any good, right?
But before Braden's death,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Before, it was authentic as it could be, but I mean, I'm really trying. I was really putting my best foot forward, and then and then it shows up like people like in friendships, relationships, like people are like, yo, like what the like you just like fell off all of a sudden. It's just like, man, like I'm trying so hard. And it's like it has nothing to do with you.
Oh, people that are closer to you.
Yeah, and
people that notice you on a day-to-day basis.
right.
Basically.
And and then people think they're like, oh, well, is it me? It's like, oh, you have no idea.
But that's natural. People would always assume it's about them somehow.
Right, yeah. Of course, like innately. And yeah, ever since that happened with Braden, it's just I just told myself like I said, like maybe I leave here and I'm like and I get all depressed again. But I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. Like I've really restructured and reconstructed my mind, like in a way where it's like if it's just not there anymore. Like I heard his friend, and she said something so subtle, and well, maybe because of this, but she was like, I was like, yeah, I was like, man, he suffered from depression. She was like, oh man, yeah. She's like, I suffered from that too. She's like, I overcame it. Like, she said, I overcame it a month ago. And I was like, what? Like in my head, I didn't say it out loud, but in my head, I was like, what? Like overcame it. And I was like, oh, so like, it's just like not a thing anymore. And she's like, nope. And she's like, I overcame it. And I was like, interesting. It was just like a seed planted. And I was like, man, I've been struggling for a little.
Wait, you think this is real, or you think you just
for sure?
What do you mean for sure? Wait, isn't it possible that it's just kind of like she's either again lying to herself, or
for sure it could be. It could be, but that power of thought, that placebo effect, like whether it's a placebo, whether it's real, whether it's a persona, whether it's whatever it is, it's just the mustard seed of that thought, of that idea, that okay, like depression, I don't have it anymore. Like I don't resonate with that. I don't have to think like that anymore. And like and I don't care who tells me, I'm not going down that road anymore. I can feel sad about something for sure. Like I'm not like saying that I won't feel that emotion, but I'm not going to get sad and beat myself up and like get to the point, cuz there's a difference between guilt and shame, I've heard. And they said that the feeling of guilt is like I did something wrong, or I made a problem. And then the feeling of shame is like I am a problem. I am the problem.
So you asked me about the difference. Well, actually, you didn't ask me about the difference, but you asked me a little bit about the meditation retreat, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that from my experience with psychedelics and then doing meditation for a few years, the main difference is in the recognition of the actual mechanisms at play.
Right.
And the difference there, and this is, everything is up for discussion. And I'm also always open to learn and understand, because I also had to deal with a lot of depression in my life. So I understand it through and through. And it seems to me that this is like I can't help but feel that so if she would express that to me, which is great because your mind always goes to kind of like the, like, oh, this is great. I'm going to use this. This might be a way for me to better myself and help others better themselves.
100%.
Which is amazing. That's how your mind works.
Of course.
My brain is a little bit more
skeptical.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the Russian part of me or the whatever. I have no idea. But I'm always like, also because I've seen so many people say a thing in my life, and then later down the line, it's like same thing. Okay, yeah, well, that's kind of obvious, So you kind of inherit a little bit of this, like a little cynicism of like, yeah, same shit every day, you know. Which is, I'm not saying that's correct.
For sure.
I think that there's a much healthier place to be. But I noticed that thing you're saying about, oh, well, if I'm just going to say I'm not going to deal with it. I don't think it's up to the part that is saying those words to decide whether they're going to accept it or not. Sometimes it just arises. The job of the thing that we feel ourselves to be, it seems to me, is to handle when those things arise, but they arise out of a place that is outside of the inspection of the person who's saying, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're saying that, it doesn't come from you, so to speak. It comes from a place inside that you are not controlling, and it's not up to you. So it's almost like, and in specifically in Vipassana, actually, the meditation that practicing is a concept called sankharas. And they give examples of like 3 different sankharas, which are like very superficial, mediocre, and very deep. And the very superficial ones, essentially, they equate them to like lines. So, the first one is almost like a line in water. You're trying to pass line on the water. It's just like the water fills it in. It's like there's no line there, right?
Right.
It's like small things, or like somebody, called you something for a second and you're like, okay.
For sure.
Yeah. And then there's the mediocre ones that are more a little bit like, you bicker with your spouse or something. And it's kind of like, it's going to be there for a few days or something.
Right.
But there's the really deep ones. And obviously there's gradations of that.
Right.
And they equate that to like lines in concrete.
Mm.
And those, and essentially the practice, and the beautiful thing about Vipassana in particular is that it's very secular in that there's not a lot, there's actually nothing you have to accept like from a tenet, from a book. Like, there's no ideas. It's just that you essentially practice to pay attention to your body from head to toe every day, 11 hours a day for 10 days. It's many hours. And what you discover is that when you do that, when you scan your body this way, you discover that all those feelings in your body, all those things, they constantly manifest themselves. And according to the teaching, they're physical events that were attached one day to some mental event that happened to you. And the mental event went away, but the physical event is still trying to express itself in your body.
That's interesting that you say that, because I did a meditation on the beach where we pushed energy from our stomach down to our hips. And then when we got to our hips, we thank God, and whatever God is to you, like, higher power, whatever you want to call it, energy, universe, Christ, Allah, whatever. We're praying to God, to a Christian God of our own understanding. And, or, his Christian God might be different than my Christian, whatever. But like, we're praying to God, our own human conception of that. And we were thanking God for our hips and how they hold our body up, and we breathe through it, and we gave our body permission to release that energy. And then we move the energy from our hips to our legs to our knees to our calves to our feet to our toes, and then released all that energy through our feet. And then we did it from our stomach up to our heart, up to our chest, to our shoulders, to our arms, to our elbows, to our forearms, to our hands, to our fingers. Release the energy through there, and then took a big deep breath in, going up from the stomach to the throat into the head, and like thanking God, like, God, thank you for this. We, and took our time with it. I mean, it must have been like, I think it was like an hour and a half. Like, we took our time. I would say thank you. I would talk and give the energy permission.
It's very rooted in like gratitude.
Oh yeah. I mean, everything is like, it's
So
just
it
like,
sounds very similar, with an added element of gratitude, which is amazing.
yeah. And breathing
Yeah,
through it.
like
And
moving the energy through the body, basically.
and that it was honestly, that was like the big one where I was like, whoa, I'm starting to feel a lot better. And then I added the microdose in there, and I was like, whoa, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And I was just like, like, I was like, I don't want to drink. I don't want to like do any I definitely don't want to do any drugs. I was like, I don't even want to be like around that. I was like, I'm okay with this. It's not doing any harm. It's only been doing good. I've been more. I'm. I feel like it's like the limitless pill. It's like
You mean with microdosing?
yeah. I feel like my energy is up. I have more more vigor for life. Like I feel like my approach is like really authentic, and I feel more empathy.
Wow, you're really evangelizing this thing now. It's great. No, I love it.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like,
and then I had the thought, it's like Paul Stamets was talking about how he took just like a crazy heroic dose, and he had a super bad stuttering problem.
I remember this story.
Yeah,
He told it on
and
Joe Rogan when he climbed the tree.
exactly,
Yeah.
up in the tree, and the thunderstorm is coming in, the lightning's gonna strike, and and he's talking about like he's like super bad stuttering, and he overcomes a stuttering problem that he's had his entire life,
It's
like
crazy.
debilitating stuttering. And he now gives speeches like to colleges and like in public speaking all the time.
So you know how you do A/B testing for everything?
Right.
So essentially, what you discover when you do specifically Vipassana, because there's a lot of different types of meditations. There's Kundalini, when you move energy around.
Yeah.
And they're all designed for slightly different things. I mean, in the end, they all kind of aim towards being aware of the present moment and stuff.
Right, for sure.
But when you dig deeper into the details, you discover that they're actually not that the same, in that just like in martial arts, you have different things that are slightly better for, obviously boxing is not going to be good for groundwork, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just by nature.
Of course.
But so what you discover is that all of these things, the concepts of gratitude, or moving your energy through the body, or surfing, or like flow state, right? Just being in that moment. They're all proxies to the core principle, which is that actually, just like you were, thinking and like moving the thing, if you just pay attention to your hips and then your legs, and then if you just keep doing that,
Yeah.
you would get the same thing. So essentially,
Yeah, 100%.
you would. There's something about paying attention to the body.
It's the reticular activating system.
Whatever the actual
RAS.
mechanism. Yeah, but the according to the teaching is that essentially it allows those things that in the body, just like when you get stressed, when you work and then your shoulders tense up.
Right.
Those and obviously when it's something more severe like a trauma, it latches itself on like in a more serious way in your body.
Oh yeah.
And then when you let it express itself without judging it, which is, notice that it's the same thing you would do with a person.
Yeah, David Hawkins talks about that in his book Letting Go.
Yeah, actually I heard about this.
Yeah.
But the principles are the same. Essentially, when you let it express itself, you then can it's literally gone. Like the deeper sankharas are being kind of corrected. My point is that when we deal with those things on a daily basis, like the depression that keeps coming back and things like that, it does map on pretty perfectly to me from what the teaching says. And again, it's even weird to say the teaching says, because it's not about what it says. It's about just, you practice it. You see if it works for you, just like going to the gym. If it either works or it doesn't.
For sure.
The thing that I notice is that it really makes a difference when I meditate on a regular basis and I allow it to express itself. A lot of those things, they come up way less often.
Yeah.
So it's like the core of the thing doesn't manifest the thing anymore. It's like, or manifests way less of it. And
awareness of pattern recognition is a big thing, I think. You know,
So this is how'd you call it?
awareness of the pattern recognition.
Okay. So just the fact that you're paying attention to whatever the pattern is.
Yeah, I mean, pattern recognition would be the awareness, right? You know, but it's like my
I
boxing
don't
coach.
know. You can be aware with just being aware of nothing, really. But I think this is like
Yeah, but it's like you know, it's like if you focus on the hip, then you realize like, oh, you could put energy there. It's like, oh,
I see.
you know, so it's like bringing awareness to it's like there might be a million Ford Fusions on the road, right? Or like, but you don't notice it really until you have one or whatever car you have, you know, and then like you become more acutely aware of that.
But I feel like, and this is I think this would be a good this would be a good closing point actually.
Yeah.
Because I know you got to go.
For sure.
It seems like the external punches of life for you are just another layer of what you have to deal with on a regular basis in the immediate space.
Yeah.
Essentially, when you fight, there's a lot you have to allow to happen and keep going.
Yeah.
Right? The being hit, your own exhaustion. But then there's another layer on top of it, which is the training and everything that goes into that. Sometimes maybe you get sick, you know, things like that. So essentially, it's just another layer of a thing that you have to kind of just like and just still there going. So I feel like those punches, like, you know,
the preparation process,
but like your brother, you know, ending his own life, that just feels like another like enormous hit that kind of life throws. And actually thinking about this on a daily basis, you really come up to my mind a lot because sometimes when, you know, I have this like completely pointless, either depressed state or just like I feel really off or whatever, you actually come to my mind. I'm like, can I just muscle through it? But muscle through is the wrong word for it. It's like, can I just not put up a good face, but just, can I be okay right now? Yeah. Is that something you like kind of operate out of, or you just don't think about it anymore because it's like a regular state for you?
Yeah, and you know what? To each their own. Like some person like might be able to like read a book and like they just get lost in that book. Like for me, I think there's certain things in life that really help you transcend spiritually. And I think it's like 3 things that people have been doing since the dawn of time. And it's like long treks. So it's physical exercise. Long treks, people went on long treks. Like some of the greats, long treks. They went everywhere. They walked and went everywhere. Intentional isolation, where they went off and collected their thoughts. And they're just like, no outside opinion. Like nobody knows how you feel. You can express how you think, but you have to deal with your thinking at the end. And people can give you advice, and it's good to accept advice, but it's also good to have that intentional isolation and seek within and look for answers. It's good to look for other answers as well. But it's important to do that in fasting. You know, it's taking away.
So it's, that sounds so kind of like, you know, like it sounds so arbitrary.
Right.
Like, I know fasting is really good for you, but it sounds like in the list that you just described, it sounds a little arbitrary.
Yeah.
So you would say those are the big 3 for you that
I think what happens is we turn into consumers, right? So hear me out. Like if we're consuming, when in America there's overconsumption, our meals are way too big. And so what happens is all this blood floats to the stomach and the body has to break it down. Well, if we don't have anything in our stomach, like people will fast and they're like, oh man, I had so much energy. I didn't even eat for a whole day. It's like, yeah, it makes sense. Your body is not processing anything and we're overindulging and we're gorging and we don't even know it. But like, I would say 9 out of 10 people is being gluttonous.
Oh, 100%.
You know, with the serving size, and it's programmed. Like, you know, like this used to be a large. You know what I mean? It's like now a large is like the size. It's like it's giant. You know, it's
so you're saying
it's
moderate. So you're saying moderation and self-control.
Yeah, and then it teaches you the discipline of and the discipline and the power of refraining from all these pleasure seeking habits.
Well, I definitely noticed that when I eat, I actually just went back to it. It's interesting you mentioning it because I used to eat once a day. I just went back to that. So sometimes I would eat another small meal in the evening.
Yep.
But I eat once a day, and then all the mental focus is amazing.
It's incredible. The mental fog is lifted, and then what happens is like when you do that, you realize how habitual eating is. Like, are you really hungry?
No, it's just a habit for the most part.
Right? Yeah,
it's a craving for the sugar.
It's like cigarette smoking. It's like yeah, there's an addiction. There's like underlying addiction there with tobacco and nicotine and whatever, but it's the motion of it.
So you're saying that you're tying it to the big three because it shows you what self-control and essentially not overconsume outside of what you actually need.
Yeah,
is one of the things that it actually shows you through your own body functionality.
Yeah, basically. because intentional. I say intentional isolation. Like not isolating to hide, but intentionally being alone, intentionally going off and seeking answers for yourself instead of seeking Dr. Phil, instead of seeking, like what your mom thinks is best for you. If I go by what my mom thinks is best for me, I'm never fighting. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be held back from so many things, or maybe somebody thinks they know what's best for you. But like that, like maybe somebody in your life is wrong for you, but you go with them and it ends up being the best thing ever. Or that you produce a child, or it's like you think you know what's best for somebody only from your own personal experiences. So it's like it's like a lot of the times, like I think if I wrote a book, I would say first line in it is like, I'm so glad you're reading this book. I'm so glad that you're here and you chose me. Don't listen to a word I say.
What do you mean?
Or don't necessarily believe a word I say.
Right. Because otherwise if you say that in the beginning, you're kind of wasting your time, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's my experience. So my experience might be different from yours, but
they converge somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, but don't believe a word I say. Like think for yourself. Think for yourself. And thinking is the hardest work known to man. That's why so very few do it.
That is very true.
And so when we cannot get consumed by entertainment, get consumed by what other people think of us, then we can start thinking of what we think is best for us. And now we're not operating out a system of like, it's like, oh, it's like I'm a doctor. It's like, well, why are you a doctor? It's like, did you dream like that's what you wanted to be when you were a kid? It's like, oh no, but my mom thought that it was best for me. My family. If I wasn't a doctor, oh my gosh, like I'd be such a disappointment in the family.
But it's interesting. It's the one profession that your mother do want you to be, but it's just as hard as being a fighter.
Oh yeah, it's almost worse. It's like and if that's your dream, maybe your dream's to be a great father. It's like if that's your dream, man, like do it. Like then, like man, you're a success.
So you're saying that fulfillment really is the thing, the sense of deep fulfillment according to what you think is correct for you.
Yeah, I mean, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So it means going after what you think is worthwhile in life.
Yeah, that's a big one. I agree with that.
That's the best definition of success that I've ever heard. And it was from Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret.
Because that's true success from the inside from the core of what you feel yourself to be.
Yeah, so you got to go on long treks. You got to fast.
How do you define long treks? Just like nature?
Like think about this. Like why did people pray on their knees? Do you know why?
No.
It's because people were on these long treks. Like think if you like were on like a long trek and you don't know where your next meal's coming from, and maybe you're dehydrated because you're going through a desert, or you're going through all this land. Like
go to more primal like functionalities that we had.
Think about like before like having like all these like buildings and everything. You're out in nature. Maybe you have to set up a tent every night. You go hunt for your food. Like people would get so exhausted that they fell to their knees out of exhaustion.
Yeah.
So going to your knees is such like when they did it back when they did it back in the day, they were exhausted and fell to their knees and looked up to the skies and prayed.
Interesting.
That's what.
Did you hear this somewhere or read this somewhere?
Yeah, I heard it from Wes Watson.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, and I was like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, that makes the most sense.
But what do you equate? So first of all, yeah, that's a great visual to kind of remind you what people actually had to go through.
And think about like how exhausted you got to be to fall to your knees.
But there's something very fulfilling about that kind of exhaustion.
Yeah.
With the working with your hands. There's something about working with your hands all day and then coming back home and that meal feels different.
Yeah.
And I feel like the long walks are just a very, very long, exhaustive process.
And so the long treks might be like a long like journey. You
mean like even a career maybe?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for my career, it's the long trek, but I'm enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying the droughts. I'm enjoying, I'm learning to embrace the suffering and understanding and having faith, because man, it's like if I'm walking through a desert, I don't know where I don't have water with me. I don't have my next meal. I have to figure out how to push past that and have faith and know that it's going to come. It's going to come. Like it will be provided some way.
Now I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So the long haul is something you want to get used to because it always has those plateaus and it always has those tough moments that you just have to remind yourself that it's coming as long as you keep walking.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah.
And then the fasting reminds you on a physical level that you actually don't need as much as you tend to think that you need.
100%.
And also your body will remind you that that's the case because when you do that, you feel healthier, you feel more agile, you feel clearer.
Yep.
And also things are more in perspective, I've noticed, which I guess is part of that mental clarity.
Yeah.
And what was the third one?
Intentional isolation.
Okay. So this is being okay with being by yourself with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I never had. I mean, with meditation, you do this. Like, you literally don't talk to anybody. For
and you were talking about earlier, like oh man, well, like this is not good. It's like, well, it's also okay to not be okay.
What is not good? Sorry.
It's okay to not be okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I said, like I don't know what the future holds, but I'm not afraid of it. And I also have noticed like behavioral patterns and like mental thought patterns and I'm choosing to reconstruct that. And I'm believing in having faith that I can reconstruct that. And I have to have that faith because I have to be the change in the world. I am going to change the world. And that's my mission, vision, purpose. Everybody looks at the MVP of the team and they all rely on that guy. I'm that guy. I'm that guy. I'm the MVP. And MVP, I do well with acronyms. When I asked God how to pray, I was in a meditation. I was just like, man, God, how do I speak to you? And it was like a loud whisper, just like, well, what do you do when you pray? And I honestly didn't have an answer. I was just like, talk. And it's like, no. What do you do? And it's like, talk. And it's like, no, you ask. And it's like, and then I was referred to Matthew 7:7. It was just like innate. It was like I just like deep down knew to go to it. Like I just felt like I was directed to it. And in it, it said one my favorite prayer of all time, asking ye shall, or, like one of the favorite verses, rather, it says, asking ye shall receive, seeking ye shall find, knocking the door will be open to you. To him who asketh, receiveth. To him who seeketh, he will findeth. And to him who knocketh, the door will be opened unto him. And I was like, wow. So when I want to pray and have that direct connection, I ask. Ask, seek, knock. ASK. And it's all verbs. It's all action. It's all movement.
It's all action.
It's all doing things. Because life is not static. You will never find anything in this world, if you go to the subatomic level, that does not move. You do not move, you die.
Or don't exist.
Or don't exist. Yeah. Plain and simple. And that's what happens. So for me, I get up, I exercise, I move, I eat better, I do things that feel good. And going through this process, I recognize these patterns, And sometimes like you got to fight it. But I feel like, and I use an I feel statement because like I said, don't believe anything I say, but this is my experience. And recently, it's like I've been able to use the microdose from the mushrooms to be able to heal that trauma and so many other. Like, I mean, I've found peace with my brother's death. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't have moments where like, where I cry, and moments where, I wonder if I could have said anything, if I wonder if I could have done anything different. It doesn't mean that. It just means that the way that I've reconstructed it was different. And I had a coach recently, Chris Guevara. He owns Real Boxing Club in Anaheim, right over by the Honda Center. And I came to him, and I kind of had like this pattern of like, it's like, oh yeah, my little brother passed away. And people go, oh, and then the tears start flowing out. I told him, I was like, yeah, I was like, I've been going through a lot. I was like, my little brother just took his own life. And he goes, I'm sorry to hear that, man. He's like, I'm sorry to hear that, but life is what we make it. He's like, we can either, and like, I was so vulnerable at the time, and I feel like I was so open to any idea that would work. And I was like, and it just hit like, like sometimes people say things in a certain way that it just hits you different. And I go, yeah, life is what you make it. He's like, life's what you make it, Papa. He's like, we can be and do anything that we put in our mind. And he's like, if we back it with belief, and we put enough energy into that, and if we really believe it. And he's like, now let's get to work. And boom, we start getting to work. And then I'm like going through this training session, and like, I'm like tense, and he's like, hey, loosen up. He's like, relax, be loose, fluent. He's like, start to dive into that flow. He's like, act like you love your job. He's like, he goes, love your job, act like you love your life. And I was like, what? Like, in my head, I'm like, that's the most obvious thing you could ever hear, right? And it's like, so, of course, but it's the way he said it, with like, hey, relax, you're tense and tight, like you can't move like that. Like, if you move like that, like. And then I realized like, oh damn, like, like my body language is this, like, mentally I'm like, oh, I'm killing it, but really I'm like, there's a lot of like strain and tightness, and restriction. And then I loosen up my body, I get into this flow state. And he goes, there you go. He's like, feel the flow, enjoy yourself. And then we're hitting the bag. I'm like 2 hours deep in this training session, and we've been going nonstop, grinding. I had to change my shirt out 3 times, and like just drenched in sweat. And like, I'm hitting the bag. I throw one bad punch. And he goes, hey, Papa. He goes, man, he goes, if you're not willing to give me 100%, anything that happens after that 100% that you weren't willing to put in the work when you were doing it, you deserve. He goes, if you aren't putting 100% into the work that you're doing, and you're wasting my time and you're wasting your own time, he goes, you can go to Title Boxing Club and do cardio boxing all you want. You can go to another gym. He goes, but here, I'm here to build elite people, elite fighters, world champions, the best that have ever done it. And he's like, so what do you want? What are you going to do? And I'm like, man, nobody ever put it like that. And it just takes one person believing in you, giving you a new idea, a new thought, a new pattern to live by. And then he's running around 60 cheese, like literally 60 and like cheese. And like, and instead of 60 G's, and like, I see the way that this guy is like moving, because people in the boxing gym have that it factor. And I go, this guy has got it going on. And I'm like, man, if I just changed like a few things in my life, and like maybe if I, puffed my chest up and relaxed more and was like a little bit more flowy, a little bit more at ease, I wonder how different life would be. Boom. At that moment, everything changed for me. And I keep telling him, and I go, hey man, you have no idea how much you helped me, bro. You have no idea. It's like, and then I realized, I'm like, man, if he helped me with that, what am I holding back that I got? I can change the world. I really believe that I can change the world. I can change that mental health. I can talk that guy down from that jumping off point. Tony Robbins said in
Yeah,
his
he never
whole
lost
career,
a person.
never lost one that he's talked to.
Yeah,
And
he's a master of that stuff. That's for sure.
And I think it's true, man. I think it's true. Sometimes we lose sight, and some people can just choreograph it and say it in a certain way. And sometimes you're just open enough to hear it a certain way. And that window of opportunity is there. And so right now I'm just taking my platform and I'm trying to help as many people as possible. And, it's like through doing that, like as of lately, man, I've got so many people that have reached out and they're like, hey, I just want to say thank you for, being a positive influence. I want to thank you for speaking out about mental health and mental illness and talking about what's happened with your little brother. I think it's very noble of you that that you're still going down your path and trying to do better after such a tragic incident. And life is what we make it, right? So it's like life is what we make it. If I'm gonna do anything, I can't sit in a room and be sad about what he did. I have mourned and I will continue to mourn, but I'm not going to stop doing what God has planted inside my mind's eye, that vision that I see for myself to be. And if I'm going to do things, like I have to be a faithful servant. And it doesn't mean that, depression never comes back, but it does mean that if I start noticing those signs, that I can find what works to eradicate that. Hopefully to a point where it doesn't exist. In my head, my belief system, it doesn't exist anymore. And I choose to believe that. It might not be true. I could be faking the funk. And
this, first of all, this is beautiful. Everything you said is beautiful. And all I can say is that I really hope that there's a component, there's a mechanism that you've recognized that other people maybe couldn't figure it out before, but that actually cuts to the core like that, like you said. Because sometimes it's a decision, but I feel like the decision has to come from your core.
Yeah.
From what you're describing, it sounds like it did come from your core.
It did.
All I'm saying is that for the most part, most people usually fake it.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And it's
but in your case, I would totally believe that it really came from because again, you put yourself on the line in a thing that requires the absolute truthfulness with yourself about what the situation is.
Yeah, there's no hiding.
There's no. It's going to be exposed immediately, and
exactly.
The only person who's going to pay the price is you.
You get judged the most harsh. Like I went to the beach the other day, and like I put myself in these situations where like if I can't get judged, if I can't get humiliated, I honestly don't want any part of it. I go to the most congested part of the beach where a bunch of people are out for spring break, lay my towel down, put my water there, put my headphones in. And I start doing movement patterns for 2 hours straight after a 4-mile run. And people are looking at me. Some dudes are like, look at this guy, And I like that.
When you say pattern, you mean like katas, like things like that? Or?
Yeah. Essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, like a kata, and I'm just doing my movement drills in the sand.
So it looks like you're showing off, but really you're just, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it looks, and right away. Oh man, like that's the first thing, right? I want people to think that. oh, this guy's showing off. It's like, maybe. But all I know is when I get in that cage, I will be judged. So I better get used to it. So I put myself in a situation where it's extreme judgment, and people, like, man, people you get judged so much. You get judged for being ripped. Oh, that guy's probably using steroids. Oh, I bet that guy has no personal life, and like, there's a lot more good, I think, than bad, but you're always getting judged. So the second that you can have that intentional isolation, you can be truthful with yourself of like, this is just what I'm here to do. And then when people pass that judgment, like, man, I'm on the beach and I'm vibing. And like, if I even, like, no matter who it is, whether it's a good response, they're like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, like, I'll give them more energy. If it's bad, they're like, pfft. Like this, I'm just like, hey, like, it's all good, bro. Like, and then just go back to doing my thing. It's like, whether you like it, it's like, Blake, you're great. It's like, cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Like,
but yeah, I'll take it.
It's like, cool. That doesn't change me. I appreciate it. I receive that, but that doesn't change me. It's like, Blake, you suck. And it's like, cool. That's your opinion. I don't receive that, but like, I'm still good. It's like,
I'm super obsessive about it because I had one podcast at the end. We had to re-record almost 30 minutes.
Oh, no way.
It was very painful.
Oh, that sucks.
Because we had an amazing moment, and then I was like, fuck. So now I'm like
that's
triple checking everything.
That's just for us, I guess.
Yeah.
I was like, me talking this.
Yeah. I managed to edit it in because I had this camera and I had some audios.
Nice.
So I used my editing skills. But
I was going to take one of my coaches, AG, this dude could not hit a golf ball to save his life, bro. He kept missing. His backswing was terrible. It was all bad. Dude couldn't even, like, would swing like 5 times, miss every time. I was like, AG, I go, imagine you're getting underneath that thing, underneath it, going through the earth, right? Scooping that thing up. I was like, and just aim it right here. Put your left foot in, like, by the ball. I was like, connect your hands. I was like, instead of having your arms bent, have them straight. And then this finger is what's guiding the ball. So point your finger to that tee. And I was gonna grab my phone and record it. I go through the earth. And whoop, almost gets a hole in one. Oh my God. I was like, oh my gosh.
And you didn't manage to record it yet?
I didn't record it. I hit him up too. And I was like trolling him. I put up a thing on Instagram. It was like of him like whacking it. And like, I'm just dying laughing, bro. Fucking dying laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, Andrew, you're so crazy, bro.
That's fucking awesome.
And he just looks back. He's like, very nice.
Like fucking Borat. Very nice.
Very nice.
How much?
He's like, very nice. And he's just like, you could tell he's embarrassed, and like, and I'm like, I had to troll you, bro. I was like, I wish I got our golden moment. And he's like, me too. And he's like, but low key, I look back at the video of me hacking that ball terrible. He's like, I must have watched it 5 times and I'm dying laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh.
It wasn't meant to be on video. So first of all, that's amazing that you get to such a deep level of analysis of every mental state that you have to occupy in the octagon. I didn't see that coming when you were saying you're doing it on the beach to actually be able to to handle the pressure of the judgment from the crowd, basically. And that's a big one.
You don't realize it, like, man, like if it's like you go up to a pretty girl and get turned down. It's like, well, you go up to an ugly girl and get turned down too. It's like, which is worse? I don't know, right? It's like,
but what if the ugly girl identifies as a pretty girl?
Oh man, see,
I don't know. I think we're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah. and like, it's just, and like what, beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, but like it's all just programming. It's all programming, you know. Like
And you're getting used to the programming that like you don't have to worry about it. Like it's something that just like second nature to you.
I am creating the program. I decide not to let what other people think, what other people say, and what I think other people think, and what I think other people say. It's like that. I'm like that. Like there's just a big ego death, you know. It's like, and man, you could go in that for hours. You know, it's such a like an awesome rabbit hole. But it's man, like
a couple of podcasts ago, I had Idan Spizier, who was the CEO of the fastest growing restoration company in the United States.
Whoa,
He built an empire from, he had a carpet cleaning company, and in 20 years, he built like this amazing company that, is all over the United States and in Canada now. And their mission statement is all about what can we actually do for the customer, because they're dealing with a lot, when there's like a flood or whatever. So they put that first. For them, that was the main thing. Instead of like, how much money can we make out of this? I mean, obviously going to charge you, but insurance pays for that. Yeah. So they put an enormous focus, and that was all him. Kind of like the vision was, how do you help people to go through those moments? Like, how do you make them feel? Because for them, life is falling apart. Like they have to figure out where to live for a few days. There's like a whole fucking thing going on.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm mentioning him is because recently, in the last few years, he dove very deeply into this internal transformation stuff. And he's very adamant about everything you're saying, which is you change your mind about what you think this is, and you watch how fast everything else changes.
Night and day.
Like just the
Night
world.
and day.
We had this conversation, and he was like, I was like, wait, so you want to tell me, like, are you throwing all the rules out the window? Are you throwing out the speed of light out the window? Is like, stop analyzing it. Change your mind about it. Change your gut about it. Yeah. See what happens in the world. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, and it's true.
Yeah.
And it's true. And sometimes, it's like, sometimes people just need you to lead by example.
Yeah.
Because
coming from someone like him, it has a lot of weight, because he's a very successful businessman. He's not somebody who's just like, making his money trying to tell people on Instagram to feel better.
Yeah. And look, if I'm a champion, if I'm top 70 in the country, if I'm going to the UFC, if I become a world champion in the UFC, and I'm using my platform as like, oh yeah, well, I'm depressed, and like I do this because of this, and like it's like I give people, it's like there they go, that's their out. They're like, well, look at this guy, he's going after his dreams, and he's supposedly happy, and then and the beautiful thing about it is like, man, I went through hell. I was tormented, depressed, like after Braden passed away, I would go to the gym, I'd have panic attacks. And I was like really struggling, man. Like I felt like I couldn't breathe. I'm like sitting here, like, I'm like, I'm like, all right, think happy thoughts, like, all right, breathe, and like, it wasn't going away. And man, as soon as like I did the microdose, it was like medicine. And like, obviously, like, you don't just do that and like the whole world flips upside down. No, I'm putting in work.
No,
like,
you still need to walk the walk.
Yeah, you can, but you still gotta walk the walk. But it's if you utilize the tools that you're given, I mean, the world is your oyster. Like everything is opened up to you.
Do you feel it just makes it more obvious to you what the tools are?
I think it brings awareness. I think Gary Vaynerchuk, he said it best. He's like, if you could give anybody anything, what would it be? He's like, a pill of self-awareness. And I think that's what that is. I think it introduces somebody to themselves.
That's a really good way of putting it. That's 100% the case. I think that the reason that people freak out sometimes, I mean, I don't want to put everybody in the same category, because there's a lot of people, like very ethical people, like Sam Harris, for example, who describe how later in life his trips just became always ridden with the possibility of a bad trip. So there's always outliers. But I would say that for the most part, it seems to me that it's true that the reason that people have a bad trip or freak out is that there's some portion of themselves that they are either not aware intentionally or unintentionally, and it just shows you a mirror, and you just can't handle that.
Yeah. And it's like I can rest assured and think of all like the good things about like Braden when he was alive. Like, hey, he called me when he tried to kill himself. He talked to me about that, and he gave me the call, and I talked to him, and I checked up on him, and then we talked and we FaceTime, and everybody acted the way that they, like nobody's bad in this situation. My family just wasn't aware. And now that they are, it's like, oh my gosh.
They didn't know he was going through that?
Oh no. They had no idea.
No, not enough. Okay, I guess they didn't have enough capacity to pay attention or something, or
yeah, their relationship with him was very different. He looked up to me. So, it's like my thing is Blake the Bilder. His was Bray the Builder. He wanted to be a part of the builder system. So, and he wanted something to do, but I'm like, I was like, wasn't there yet. Or like, I thought I couldn't, so I was just like, oh, I don't have anything for you. Maybe you can make juice and sell it to people out there. I always give him suggestions. He wanted to be a barber. He's like, yeah, my Wody just, he made like $500 in a day being a barber. He's like, I'm trying to be a barber. I'm like, well, do you really want to be a barber or do you just want to make $500 a day? And he's like, both. I was like, that's a good answer. I go, but hey, I was like, everybody starts somewhere. I was like, hey, I'm gonna tell you right now. I go, bro, if you don't get a pair of clippers right now and hit up 5 of your closest friends and turn that $20 invest or $30 or whatever, how much it costs for clippers. I was like, say you get a $20 pair of clippers. I told him, I was like, you cut 5 of your friends' hair, give them half off, $10. I was like, $10 haircut, 5 people, that's $50. You just more than doubled your investment. I was like, nah, that's an entrepreneurial move. I was like, so if you really want to be a barber, surround yourself with it. I was like, and start cutting everybody's hair. I was like, and you're gonna mess up. And then and I was like, and if you don't, I was like, I'm gonna be mad at you. I was like, and I have that right to be. He's like, yeah, you're right. And then but then he started making some excuses, and I was just like, look, man. I was like, I'm gonna hang out because I gotta go to the thing that I'm doing now. I was like, but if you don't cut somebody's hair, and within a week, I was like, I'm gonna be mad at you. I was like, so don't talk about it, be about it. And man, he cut somebody's hair. He kind of messed up, but I was like, yo, you ran that fade a little bit messed up. But I was like, we gotta have a conversation. I go, but look, how good does it feel? I was like, how proud are you that you took that action, that you did it? He's like, yeah, it feels good. He's like, and I just wanted him to have that self-assurance of take action, get after it, do the things that you want. Don't talk to too many people about it, but just do it. And he was writing a book called Ill Mind of Braden. And he told his baby mama who's gonna have his baby that's supposed to be born on my birthday, second baby mom.
Wait, so she's still pregnant with his second?
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's... Yeah, baby girl.
Damn.
Yeah. And yeah, it's crazy.
That's big. To somebody to talk to. It's first of all, it's definitely not a deep wound that I want to pick on, but just because I forgot to ask you, and is when he called you, what'd you do? Did you just call the ambulance? What'd you do? What?
Well, he's in Georgia. I'm in California.
So you can't call a thing. So you were helpless. You couldn't call anybody, or you didn't think
I mean, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just fascinated by the state of mind. It's
I think about that answer too. It's just man, maybe I should have called
I don't know, man. It sounds
help, or it's you don't. I'm like, man, I know I've threatened it a million times.
Oh, you thought maybe
never
you just
followed through.
Yeah.
I was like, he'll be all right, and I checked in on him afterwards. I was going into a meeting. It was at nighttime. And when he told me, I was like, man, I started crying. I was just like, man, 3 things. I go, 1, I love you. I go, 2, thank you for calling me. Because when I tried in 8th grade, I didn't tell nobody. I go, so you're twice the man that I am. And 3rd, I was like, you gotta get help. I was like, you can go to the hospital right now. They'll pump your stomach. I was like, and help you out and take care of you. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm just sleepy. I'm like, do not sleep. Do not sleep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't
Do
help
not
it, right?
sleep.
Yeah.
You know, he ate the whole bottle of sleeping
Fuck,
pills.
man.
And what do you tell him? You know, I was like, and I'm like, and I go in to this meeting and I'm just bawling my eyes out. I'm like, man, how do I help him?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know.
No, I know, talking to somebody, I have a friend, Ian, really good friend. And he's a personal trainer. Well, he does a lot of things. He had a startup. He is a personal trainer. He actually got he got like awarded as like one of the top trainers of Canada, something like that, some magazine. But one of the things about him is that it's one of those things where you're not surprised because he cares so much about everything that he does and his customers. But he also many years, I think he still does that, but at least he was for sure for many years. He was volunteering at the suicide hotline. And when he was visiting here last, we were sitting and talking, and he said, one of the things that most people don't think about, which is the thing that really breaks my heart, which is when I hear these people call, I realize that when I have tough moments in life, I have such an infrastructure of a network around me, of friends and loved ones and a family that I can always call. And he's like, Danny, you don't even realize some people literally have no one.
Yeah.
Literally have no one, like no one. And that he said that is the thing that like I had to deal with the most, because that's the thing that just kills me. Just like they literally have nobody.
Yeah.
So like the fact that at least he had you to talk to. And sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes you just, and also you can't answer for what other people do with their lives. But I'm in the end of the day, I feel like we only act according to what we believe is the best course of action in that moment and what we can actually provide. And in the heat of the moment, it's always very difficult to know where's the line of how much I can provide.
And you try different things, right? So it's like I was trying to like push him, like, hey, like I know what just happened, like, and like, man, he called me, like, I don't want, like, if I tell my family, like, all they're gonna do is worry, and then like he gets upset, they get upset, everybody's in fear, it's like, so I'm like, and like when somebody hits you up, like that's personal, man.
Yeah. You don't want to steer the pod to it. That's a tough choice, man. Honestly, it's a tough choice.
It's tough. I want to call the police and tell them.
But then you're putting him in a situation. If it's not real, then you're putting him in a situation, and he doesn't even realize it.
What's the answer? The answer is like the answer for me at the time was just like, man, just show this kid that you love him. Like just check in on him, just check up on him, just like. Let them know, just like, hey, man, I love you. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're having a good day. And then definitely like towards the end, you're like, I mean, you just get caught up in your life. I'm getting ready for a title defense. Like I got all this, I got a fight coming up, and like, I got my business and my life, and gas prices are rising. I hate to bring gas into this, but gas will be the death of all of us. Or like it's there's just a lot going on. It's like you just don't think that it would get to that point. And yeah, man, he hung himself from a monkey bar at a park, in a trailer park. Man.
Wait, what? I'm confused.
Yeah, so he tried with sleeping pills, I guess, multiple times.
So that didn't work. Okay.
It didn't work. So he told his baby mom like 3 months before. That he had it all planned out.
That's pretty fucked up.
He was he was bound and determined, man. And he was writing a book, Ill-Minded Braden. And so they're going to open his phone. I told my mom to go to the Apple store. I just think
I don't think they can do that, by the way, unfortunately.
Yeah, they can.
They can.
For sure.
From what I hear, there's no back door. Maybe they changed it. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're right.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. I think.
No, because there was, again, maybe they changed it, but there was that case with the FBI that asked Apple to open it. They're like, we can't do that. There's nothing there.
Oh, so, no way.
Yeah. But maybe they changed it. I don't know,
maybe for your family, you show a death certificate. Like, hey, open this thing up.
Yeah.
Like,
no. If it exists, I'm saying that I think there's literally, they didn't leave a back door. I don't know. Maybe they change it. I hope so, because that would be great. That at least some of the stuff that he left behind would be.
Yeah, we can have his pictures, his videos, his notes, and like, just like, I think, it's just, you just want to seek answers. You just want, did he leave a note behind? I wish he would have called me, but I think he knows that if he called me, I would have talked him down from the ledge.
If you knew that that's actually happened. No, that's a, so yeah, you didn't mention that part. So do you feel like, you don't feel like it interrupted your process of preparing for the defending the?
Almost definitely it did.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, but it's like, it's just like, that's why it hit so heavy. 'Cause I'm like, bro, I'm in it. I thought about retiring like 1,000 times, literally.
Because of that?
Yeah. I was like,
Wow.
I don't want to deal with this, man.
Wow.
I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to. I don't know how to handle it. I'm having panic attacks. I'm like bad. Like bro. Like my mental health was at stake. I'm like, man, could I? I'm thinking all this. Like, and man, I was going through it. And I'm trying. And I was like, I put on some weight. I had to burn off some weight. I came back from Georgia, and I was just like, stuff in my face. I came back. I think I was like 180 pounds.
Damn.
Right now I'm walking like 165. But man, like, like you seek these vices. You seek different outlets. Like, man, like, stuff some food in your mouth, and that stomach fills up and it changes your Anthony.
She's a support dog, so she
knows. Anthony Robbins said, your physiology affects your psychology, and it does. That's why you can't cry and like have a smile on your face. Like typically, like yeah, right. If you do, it's like kind of weird. You're crying and laughing at the same time. Like
no, I think like maniacal laugh, right?
Yeah,
you can kind of cry at the same time. Fuck, man, that's. But you're preparing for the fight. You think you're ready, and
I'm ready.
And when is it? In 3 weeks from now?
3 weeks. Yep.
15th.
April 15th.
15th.
Yep.
And you said it's going to be in New Jersey,
Atlantic City, New Jersey, at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be watching, man.
Main event, main card, CFFC.
Have you ever? Oh no, you never defended a title in MMA, right?
No.
That's amazing, man. That's
no.
And I know I always ask you this again and again, but like I never remember the exact. You're saying that the path from this to potentially go to the UFC is essentially somebody noticing you, right, and then kind of approaching you, or is there a way that you can approach them?
Yeah,
because I saw you doing some.
We've been in talks with like Sean Shelby.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's already some.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we have it all set up.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's amazing, man.
Yeah, we got everything. We got.
You're gonna meet what's his name? Nathan. When you gonna get there?
Levy?
Yeah. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, he's been doing good, man.
No, it's just like as a person, he's a cool dude. I met him.
Oh, for sure.
The interview. Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy.
Very
I don't think I've met him before. But yeah, I've followed his career. I've seen him do his thing.
What do you think about him as a fighter? Don't worry about
I haven't really like watched any of his fights, to be honest. But I see him on Instagram,
cool.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, this dude.
Wait, is he in your weight division? Can you guys?
I think so.
Oh, that would be interesting. Maybe you guys will fight one day.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hey,
that would be an interesting fight.
Yeah,
it'll be hard Because the Israeli title versus a good friend. I was like,
yeah. It's like, who do I go for? You know,
I don't go for anybody. Just enjoy the fight. At that point.
Exactly. Yeah. No bias. Stay out of it, maybe. But yeah, I feel confident in my approach. I feel good no matter what.
That's amazing. Yeah, man. I see great and amazing things for you, but I'm sure you're aware. It's very it's always refreshing to hear you talk about these things, because there's a lot of I don't want to say fakers out there, but there's a lot of people who pretend to be somebody. And the more I interact with you, the more it's very clear to me that you're not pretending.
No.
This is like a very real, core, genuine first drive for the highest success, but also a genuine sentiment of wanting to help other people.
Yeah.
And now it's really personal.
Yeah,
for you.
it's a burning desire.
Yeah.
It's like my definite chief aim.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, because we don't have to suffer.
Yeah. Well,
Well, it's like
no, maybe, I don't know. Maybe
in certain ways, I think
maybe it's part of life. Maybe it isn't. I have no idea. I just know that we do.
Yeah,
and then maybe we can mitigate it by showing each other that we care a little bit more. And I feel like the world definitely needs more of that sentiment.
They need somebody who is on a larger platform that can hold it down and keep it real in a life where like everybody is comparing their insides to people's outsides, and those outsides are like posted on social media, and everybody is like, you just see the likes, you just see the followers.
Yeah, well, no, that's why Joe Rogan is so huge. That's why Lex Fridman is so huge.
Yeah.
Because they're genuine.
And that authenticity carries itself.
Oh,
and it stands
100%.
true,
That's the thing that I also aspire always. It's like, I mean, obviously this podcast is still very small, but I'm always trying to stay loyal to who I believe I really am versus what I feel that maybe people want to hear.
Exactly.
It's still a dance that I'm figuring out, but I think that as long as
we all will, like, for the rest of our lives, probably, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying that even the craft that I'm engaged in right now, like there's a certain element of the conversation that it always tries to creep in, which is like, well, like there's all those like weird questions, that sometimes creep in. It's like, oh, is this interesting enough? Is this? And then the only place where I find the conversation becomes interesting and real is when I drop all of that. Yeah. And just have a conversation and just enjoy what you actually say. Yeah. And that's when it also later when I watch it, when I edit it, it's the thing that it very obviously is the thing that I personally enjoy watching. Because, whenever you do something, you're the biggest critic of yourself. And
of course.
There's a lot of cringe moments. You're like, no,
oh, should have said that a little bit differently.
Yeah, but then the moments of the conversation that I genuinely enjoy are the 100% are the ones that I know I was just in the conversation. I wasn't thinking about anything. Yeah. Because I think that's what people also tune in to watch.
Yeah, getting lost in that flow of that present moment, and it's like having a good understanding of self. It's just like mind, body, soul, just all connected. And when you can really connect it, like, you'll know.
I always look for the perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
And that was the perfect one.
Yeah.
When you will fully let go, you will know. Yeah. It's so amazing how it's very obvious in retrospect when you truly hit that note, the real note, in whatever it is that we do. And I know that it sounds so trite and maybe chewed up a little, but it's very true. Like you just know that this is the right thing, or this is the right words in that moment, or this is just the right path for you.
Yeah.
I think the feeling, I'm becoming more and more convinced that the true potential of what we can become is always in how it feels. And because we spent so much time in the 20th and the beginning of the 21st century focusing on, the scientific method, and everything has to be remeasured. And the only thing that has concrete value, usually in the end, the things that can be built, they are measured by an external device, or there's something that is not, like, emotion is not, maybe in certain circles, it's accepted more as a real guideline, obviously, in the shamanic traditions and in spiritual circles, obviously, yes.
Yes.
And the world becoming more and more. But I mean, in the most concrete way, I'm becoming more and more convinced that the paths, like people say, how can you not, plan for it? People that are like, overly like trying to analyze their lives.
Yeah.
And it's true. You do have to plan things in your life. You do have to make sure that things are aligned with what you believe is possible in the physical realm.
Of course.
But I'm telling you that this thing that is expressed in a very flaky way in certain circles, I think that there is a real thing there that even though you have to plan for your life will unfold with a much greater ease if you align with this thing that is trying to tell you what the right path is. There's something inside of you that is literally trying to tell you, and you're just ignoring it all the time.
Yeah, and it's signs. It shows up in signs of, like maybe you got a skin condition. It's like, well, it's like, are you getting proper rest? Are you stressed out? What is your gut health like? Like, are you eating good food? Are you treating yourself good? It's like, do you truly love yourself? It's like, because if you do, you'll treat yourself better. You'll talk to yourself better. Your expressions will be better. Your thoughts will form differently, and your whole life can unfold by just one single thought. Like the idea of just like a mustard seed of hope and faith can really, really change everything. It's like, that's why I got like one of the verses that I got on my chest. It was Galatians 6:9. It says, "Never grow weary of doing good, for at just the right time we will reap a harvest of blessings if we don't give up." A harvest of blessings. We will reap a harvest, whatever it is, if we don't give up. So it's innately in us to never give up, to keep doing good. And like people say, like, how are you? It's like, I'm good. It's like, oh yeah, like what good are you doing? Like, what? And it's like, well, what good are you doing? It's like, if you're doing good, like that's typically an act of service. It's like, or do you mean that your like well-being is good? Because if you're doing well, that means like you're doing well. But if you're doing good, like you're doing good. Like you're getting people on your podcast, you're being of service to your community and to your fellow
I'm definitely
men,
I'm definitely trying to do my best to share information that I think that is helpful to live a better life. It's one thing to have
you have to.
Yeah, it's one thing to have interesting information, which is always important. But I think that in the end, if it's not, the last conversation I had was with a philosopher, with Peter Rollins, and he's also a friend, a fascinating person. And one of the things we kept coming back to was like, what is the, we love talking about these concepts. What is the cash value of what we're saying? How are those concepts relate to what people do every day, and how does it move them to do those things?
Right.
And I think that was a big thing for me in that conversation, but I think it's a big thing for me in general, which is how is it that what the attitudes we carry, how can they translate to real things in the world? And how can we help others understand those attitudes and how to adopt them? That's the biggest thing for me.
I think being like more empathetic and like understanding and like seeking to understand like that, like, hey, this person has gone through like this certain thing, but like without having to know all of this that's going on or that's happened in their past and why they do what they do. It's like the simple and most noble act is to improve yourself to the point where you can just be loving and kind.
Blake, you're always such a pleasure and a blessing to have on a podcast.
Thank you.
And you always share information that's very genuine and real. And you're a very inspiring person, man.
I appreciate that so much, man.
I love you as a friend, and keep kicking ass, man. It's amazing to watch you grow.
Thank you, bro.
Now the table is a little bigger, right?
Always love and light, bro. That's what I'm trying to lead with,
Hell yeah.
It's like you hear people say that a lot, but I'm trying to be the light, that stands out.
You definitely are that. So thank you for that.
Man. Thank you.
And I can't wait for the next time we talk.
Me too.